Welcome back to Good Morning Europe. I'm Hanan Farjani. Now, France, Germany and the UK are calling for dialogue as they fear the Iran nuclear deal could be on the verge of collapse. EU foreign ministers are meeting in Brussels today to try to iron out details to convince Iran and the United States to come to the negotiating table and rescue the agreement. For more on this, I am joined by Euronews' political editor, Darren McCaffrey. Hello there, Darren. Is there a sense in Brussels that this nuclear deal can still be saved?
Well, I think there is a bit of hope, but not much expectation that it can be saved. This has been somewhat of a slow diplomatic car crash over the last year or so, particularly in the last couple of months, with Europe trying to hold its ground, trying to insist that that deal should remain in place, with Washington and the United States on one side, Donald Trump insistent it is the worst deal the country has signed in its history, and then Iran on the other, under the pressure of economic sanctions, essentially saying that something needs to be done, that it cannot carry on economically in the state that it currently is, and that it is and has now begun enriching uranium, breaking that deal. And so the EU is squeezed in the middle, trying to get both sides back on track. They're determined not to do so. And what does the EU have? Well, all it really has is some diplomatic leverage in all of this, while at the same time insistent that if Iran keeps carrying on enriching its uranium, well, then ultimately it will be in contravention of that deal and that sanctions will have to remain in place. But you listen to what the foreign ministers had to say, most notably, of course, that of Germany, France and the UK, the key diplomatic forces here on this issue of Iran. And they're quite bullish in a statement that was issued last night. Jeremy Hunt, who is the UK Foreign Secretary, saying that the Middle East is already one of the most unstable regions in the world. But if different parties were armed with nuclear weapons, it would represent an existential threat to humankind, and that they will do everything in their power to prevent that from happening. But as I say, the power that the EU currently has, well, all it is diplomatic. There was some movement at the weekend with the EU's High Representative for Foreign Affairs in Iraq talking to politicians in Baghdad. Iraq, of course, an ally not just of Iran but also of the United States, in the hope that they could mediate some type of negotiations. But as I say, at the moment, despite the best efforts of the EU, you'd have to assume that this deal is looking like it may well be over, that it is essentially a dead deal.
Well, a dead deal or not, we will see what comes out of this meeting. Thank you very much, Darren McCaffrey, there in Brussels.